The stellar rise of house and techno brought with it a number of cult machines, many of which were given a second life after being made obsolete by the advent of digital synths and drum machines. Chief among these, and most certainly the most sought after, was the Roland TB303. That is said to have only been built around 10,000 times up until production ended in 1984. This brings it in line with about 10,000 TR-909s and even below the roughly 12,000 units of the slightly more popular TR-808. While the sound of the latter two could, to a certain extent, be replicated using samples, the 303's squelch and screech proved to be much harder to replicate, because it pretty much resulted from cheap components that had already started to become obsolete and hard to find in the early 90s. After all, digital was on the rise, and analog was not yet popular again. When demand only kept rising and prices for vintage 303s kept foot, many companies, small and large, tried to cash in on what promised to be a money printing machine. There was a whole cottage industry of 303 clones attempting to clone the actual hardware down to the matching resistors, but there were also many companies that took far bigger freedom on the formula, mostly dropping the sequencer part and combining some form of mostly analog monosynth with some form of analog filter, finishing it all up with knobs for direct control over the usual suspects of tune, cutoff, resonance, envelope mode, decay, and of course accent. Many of these let's just clone the sound somewhat clones came as 19-inch rack units, and when I say many, I really mean it. Today's synth clearly falls into this sector of 303 clones. It's the second generation of the MAM MB33, the creatively named MB33 Mk2. I've already covered the reissue of the first generation of the MB33, the tiny and also creatively named MB33 Retro, that itself adopted the now popular desktop form factor. The original MB33 didn't sound too far away from the desired 303 sound and became a modest success, enough so that it went through multiple revisions. MAM even licensed the MB33 out to be sold under different names in different markets. In 1998, MAM released an updated version, and this time around they actually improved on the original formula quite a bit. And that is the synth you see here. Its beautifully clean white design is a rare revision made to the design when MAM was bought up by Teratech. Usually you find them look like this, and there's also another licensed model. Now, with the 33 Mk2 you don't only get full MIDI control over all the important parameters, they were even kind enough to include a sub-oscillator, pulse width modulation control, and an onboard distortion effect. Sadly though, MAM dropped the waveform mix control that made the original 33 stand out from the competition. Because I guess that's more than enough talking for now, let's have a listen. We'll start with the square wave, filter closed all the way and going through the controls. Let's bring in the sub-oscillator now. Let's flip over to saw. Finally, let's listen how the distortion influences the sound. It reduces the overall volume quite a bit. It even kills the sound fully pulled up. Don't know if that's normal or it's just mine. Because I have it lying around here, let's listen to the MB33 Retro performing the exact same pattern. You'll notice that the sound differs quite a bit. I guess you could say that it kind of has a rounder, more rubbery sound. And back to the MB33 Mk2. Just like the original MB33, this unit also has a filter input, so let's squeeze some drums to it. So, once again we are at the end of the video. As the MB33 Mk2 is a fair bit rarer than the original 33 or the 33 Retro, it isn't just harder to find, but often sellers ask for about double the price. I had been searching for one for quite some time and I was happy to find this very special unit in the end. It turned out that I didn't even have to pay much more than for the original 33, because the seller simply didn't find anyone who would want to buy it at all. So I guess you can find one cheaply after some bargaining. At least until people are told that this rack-mounted beauty is capable of some pretty decent sounds. If this channel keeps growing as nicely as it has in the last half year, and many people get to see this video, you should actually get one soon. So that's all for today. See you soon with another synth.